Here, today, and now, on the Galaxy stage, we're talking nothing less than finding the next breakthroughs in the future of entertainment. Because that's what ILMxLAB is all about. It takes the creativity and innovation of Industrial Light and Magic and Skywalker sound and combines it with the storytelling traditions of Lucasfilm to explore the cutting edge of immersive entertainment. Now, with the sound of applause, can you tell me how many here have tried anything like VR? All right, that's good. So you've got some grounding. So it's not as if I'm going to be talking entirely an alien language to you, but understand that there's so much new stuff here in this area. Those of you who've tried VR know that words can't do it justice. If you're trying to explain to your friend what you experienced, they kind of look at you and wondering, what was that about? In other words, I'd much rather show you stuff than tell you stuff. So to give you an idea of what ILMxLAB's all about, I want you to watch this video that was prepared for us. So if you could please roll that first video.
Created xLab as a place where we combine the story department inside Lucasfilm, ILM Skywalker sound, and the technology available to us to create experiential entertainment. Technological innovation and storytelling go hand in hand, and that's something that as a company we're uniquely suited to do.
No oni sobie chyba jaja robią. Czyli nastąpiła zmiana programu.
All right, to begin this conversation about the future, please join me in welcoming the executive in charge of ILMxLAB.
No serio, wypadł panel na temat komiksów Marvela. On nadal jest na stronie Star Wars rozpisany. Miał być o 18 naszego czasu, Marvel Star Wars Comic Books, czyli słuchajcie, wygląda na to, że EA może być wcześniej. Wygląda na to, że EA może być wcześniej. Coś mi się tutaj chrzani, okej. To jest... Tak, bo zobaczyłem, że jest ten panel przesunięty o godzinę, którą... chciałem to obejrzeć. Czyli tutaj, to wypada tak naprawdę. I tu jest godzina 18, jest ILM.
Well, for us at ILMxLAB, immersive really means being there. One of our goals is to allow people to truly step inside the worlds of our stories in a very visceral,
bardzo mi się to nie podoba, że jest ta zmiana. Bardzo mi się nie podoba. Natomiast chciałem obejrzeć ten panel. Bardzo. Ponieważ
AR, MR and VR.
A prowadzi panel Pablo Hidalgo, czyli jeden z Lucasfilm. Z Lucasfilm Story Group.
And zero is reality, our real world. If you start to turn the dial to the right and you're introducing digital and virtual objects into the real world, you're starting to mix
to ja tutaj nie będę tego tłumaczył jakoś szczególnie. Nie będę jakoś tłumaczył tego szczególnie, bo tak naprawdę nie czuję się na siłach, żeby to przetłumaczyć. Więc zrobimy tak, że ja jestem, okej? Ale
you've essentially eliminated the real world, and you're now in an entirely virtual world. And that's a lot of what we're focusing on today, but that entire spectrum provides really exciting storytelling opportunities.
You know, the funny thing is, to give you an idea how quickly this whole realm is expanding, when we starting to put together the kind of things we wanted to talk about, and I realized, boy, how could we make people who aren't familiar with this familiar with AR? In the span of time we asked that question, Pokemon Go came out. And now we've got people chasing imaginary digital animals around the world. It's like, okay, it's possible to explain this in a way that people get, you know.
Jak to wyjaśnić tak naprawdę ten fenomen? To jest tak racja. A ILMxLAB robi też jakby coś związanego z rozszerzoną rzeczywistością. Zdecydowanie.
Maximize the potential of any given medium to serve the story. Well, when there was a new storytelling platform, such as that's been enabled by virtual reality and augmented reality, we not only wanted to be there, but we wanted to be pioneers, and we really want to help push and establish the state of the art.
So what went into the decision of bringing Trials on Tatooine here to Celebration Europe?
Well, so we've been involved in a whole variety of projects and experiments over the course of this past year since ILMxLAB was launched. And Trials on Tatooine started out as an experiment to really understand what's the right balance between interactivity and story in this new storytelling space. And as we began to experiment with it, not only did we get excited about what was created, but the people we shared it with got excited. And we thought, well, what better group of people to share it with than the fans in Celebration? So that's why we brought it here.
And by your reaction, I could tell that you're digging it. For those who haven't tried it, it's not that far away. It's your passport to enter into the Star Wars galaxy. For those who have tried it and those who haven't, we've got a special video that basically tries to encapsulate that whole situation.
Filmik,
so here it is. Let's run the Trials on Tatooine video.
Jestem bardzo ciekaw tego Trials on Tatooine. Czyli mamy tutaj użyty HTC Vive. Hełm, z tego co słyszałem, lepszy niż Oculus Rift. Przynajmniej lepiej orientujący się w przestrzeni. No ładnie to wygląda. Już teraz widzę, że jest całkiem ładnie. Ale po tym panelu na temat rebeliantów spadła odwiedzalność. Znaczy ja nie wiem tylko, czy ten Trials on Tatooine to będzie bardziej takie demo technologiczne, czy to jest, no napisali experiment, czyli niby to nie jest, czyli to nie jest tak naprawdę gra jako taka, tylko właśnie takie demo technologiczne. No słuchajcie. Rob Brito, czyli gość, który wymyślił tą grę, znaczy to demo technologiczne, a poza tym jest szefem efektów specjalnych w filmie o Hanie Solo.
So have you been spying people play Trials on Tatooine here?
Watching people come out of Trials on Tatooine is my favorite thing. The moment they take the headset off and you say, "Welcome back to London," after being on Tatooine for, it's a short experience, it's under 5 minutes, but you really do get a chance to be immersed and seeing the look on people's
Dobra,
face.
Słuchajcie, jakby się zobaczę, czy teraz się
many of you, I think, who tried it for the first time here, maybe it was one of your first virtual reality experiences, and to get to go to a new place like this and wield a lightsaber on Tatooine with standing underneath the Millennium Falcon, it's really fun to see the look on people's face after they get to do that.
Now, the description of Trials on Tatooine, there's several words here. It's a cinematic virtual reality experiment. I think we understand the experiment part because Vicky was talking about that. But let's put that all together. What do these words mean to you?
Co to znaczy cinematic experience?
The cinematic storytelling model. And if you look at film, of course, we're very experienced in making these films with world-class filmmakers and storytellers. And then you look at games kind of on this other end of this interactive spectrum, right? And games are wonderful storytelling opportunities too, and great interactivity. And we're interested in what this combination might look like. Or maybe there's actually something new, if you imagine a triangle, something new that is a native story that is best told in virtual reality or mixed reality. Because we think there's stories that need to be told in cinema. We think there's interactive experiences you can have in games, and maybe there's something new when you can actually go to a place, visit a place that you've always wanted to go, especially the kind of worlds that we get to work on at ILMxLAB.
Now, in calling it an experiment, what are the kind of things that you learned as far as making these things go as you developed Trials on Tatooine?
Well, this was an incredible learning experience
Dobra,
from the
to
very
ponieważ ja się
beginning
nie
to the very
odzywam,
end.
to ja wam
when we
tutaj sobie
started
zniknę
this, we had
na
all sorts
chwilę,
of
bo
different
to nie ma
ideas of the
sensu.
kind of things we would make. And we pitched a bunch of these ideas, and honestly, without seeing them, without getting to feel them, like, it was hard to justify. It was hard to decide what kind of, which of the things to try. So honestly, the most success we had in figuring out what to build was building quick prototypes and standing them up and trying them out and seeing what was going to be impactful in this space. So to get Trials on Tatooine underway, what we did is we took that Millennium Falcon you saw in that video, or those of you who saw it in the experience, we took the Millennium Falcon from Episode 7, and with some pretty great technology, got it working at 90 frames per second in the virtual reality experience, and landed it right on your head. And then Skywalker Sound set up a custom, what was it, an 8.4 system that had enough power to fill a theater like this, but we did it in like a 16 by 12 foot room, and we turned it up way past where you should ever do it for that size room. So when the Millennium Falcon landed on you, not only did you hear it, but you felt it in your chest. And then we blew wind on you, so you really felt like you were there. And the greatest thing, when you put somebody who hadn't done a lot of virtual reality in that, and you land the Millennium Falcon on their head, they get scared. You know, you have to make sure they don't back out of the volume because, you know, you don't want to get hit by this thing. So then we knew we had something that you could only experience in this way, and that kind of scratched the surface of what we wanted to do, is find what is unique in this space.
Now, I'm going to admit something here, and there are so many perks for working at Lucasfilm. I get to interact with the ILMxLAB, but even if I wasn't regularly interacting with that group, by virtue that I'm just a floor away, I became one of the many guinea pigs that was sent through the prototype version of Trials on Tatooine.
He's not quite giving himself enough credit. He was one of the guinea pigs. He was also the co-writer of the experience. So, yeah, so he helped in many ways. The good dialogue you hear that sounds just like Han Solo, thank you, Pablo.
Thank you. But talk about some of the things that you learned from sending people through this prototype as you were putting it together.
Yeah, we learned so much by building this stage by stage. Those of you who've tried the experience know there's some generator repair that goes into it. And it's actually, if you're thinking about repairing a real generator, it's kind of straightforward what we have you do in this experience. There's some button pushing and there's some interaction with Han Solo telling you what to do from the cockpit. We had way more complicated things planned. You know, wouldn't it be fun to rewire a generator? And we tried a bunch of different things, and it turned out, especially for where we all are today in this world, where it's going to be a lot of people's first experiences, the more straightforward we kept it, the more straightforward the instructions were, the more success you had with those first steps of interaction, the more fun it was for everybody. And that's what we were looking for, was could we combine very simple storytelling with this interactivity and keep it fun, and keep people leaving the experience with a smile on their face. And based on the people's reaction today, I think it's been at least somewhat successful on that account.
Now, you've got a really good Han Solo in this. If you guys have heard it, it's a really dead-on sound-alike for Han Solo. You talk about casting that role.
Yeah, Ross Marquand is the star of this show. He's sitting in the cockpit, giving you instructions from the cockpit. And to get to sit in the audio recording booth, Dave Filoni and I got to sit there. And Dave, of course, very, very experienced Star Wars director, knows how to make something feel authentic, knows how to give that direction. And we were sitting next to him, and I just had to pinch myself because lines that Pablo and I had written that were in the world that I love are coming out of Ross Marquand, and it sounds exactly like Harrison Ford. I mean, especially my memory of Harrison Ford in this era that we were working with for this story. So that was, I just had to pinch myself.
And in an amazing bit of serendipity, Ross Marquand, who you may know from The Walking Dead, turns out he's a distant relative of Richard Marquand, who directed Return of the Jedi. So it feels like this was all meant to be here.
And a huge fan, like just a huge
Star Wars fan. Yeah. Now, Trials on Tatooine, I understand you've got some big news regarding this experiment. Its next stage, its next evolution. What can you tell us about it?
Yeah, it's really exciting to be able to announce this here at Celebration. Based on the reaction from people that we saw here and our desire for more people to be able to experience this experiment on our way to building much bigger things in the future. So what we want to do is make it possible for more people to see. And as you saw, it was quite a deal to set up 20 rooms and have all the volunteers and everybody make it possible for you to see it here at Celebration. So what we're doing is we're releasing Trials on Tatooine for free on Steam VR on Monday. So
that's right. So you cannot argue with that price, can you? Absolutely free.
Completely free. You do need to have an HTC Vive headset because that's the only headset right now that has the controllers and everything that work for that lightsaber. So, but on Steam VR, available for free on Monday. So we're really excited to see more people getting to see our experiment in their own living room.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Rob and Vicky. Thanks for coming out and talking to us about ILMxLAB, and thanks for giving us Trials on Tatooine to try for free.
Thank you. It's great.
Yeah. All right, well, Trials on Tatooine is one of many projects that Vicky mentioned we've been working on our very first year of ILMxLAB being in existence. Some of these projects have been strictly internal to do some testing and find out what things are like. Some of them have gone external. Some of them have gone onto the internet, and you may have experienced there. And some of them have actually ended up in a format that you could hold in your hands. So to talk about these and more projects, I'm going to bring out more folks from the ILMxLAB
to, co powiedzieli w xLab, że będzie do pobrania to demo Trials on Tatooine. Jeśli macie dobry komputer i HTC Vive, czyli wyłożyliście na sprzęt około 8 do 10 tysięcy złotych, to ze Steama będziecie mogli sobie pobrać za darmo tą grę. I to tyle jakby wiadomo z istotnych rzeczy. A teraz porozmawiamy o kolejnych projektach, które są ILMxLAB. Czy on mu podał właśnie lewą rękę?
Also coming up with John is a fellow member of the Lucasfilm Story Group. She's a writer, she's a producer, and as a member of the group,
Matko Boska, co za
she helps
ham.
make sure that all these
Już
new
nie lubię
narratives
gościa.
that we're weaving in this new
Co za
immersive
ham.
space works within the creative storytelling landscape that we're building with all of Star Wars. Please welcome Diana Williams.
Wezmę i dodam napisy do trailera. To poczekaj chwilę, bo zaraz trailer epizodu, znaczy sezonu 3 będzie na kanale Biblioteki Osus. W tej chwili już się przetwarza, już powinien się zaraz dodać. Więc, już chyba jest nawet. Więc właśnie go dodałem na YouTube'a Biblioteki Osus, więc tam dodawaj napisy. To by było strasznie fajne, jakby ktoś pomógł współtworzyć napisy. Tutaj usiąść, czy tam usiąść?
No, we sit next to each other all the time, Diana. Let's not pretend we've never met.
I was avoiding you.
So it's been a busy first year, it sounds like. Diana, I know you've got so many thoughts and ideas about storytelling. How does immersive, where does that represent on our long history as storytellers? Where does that fit on that spectrum?
Well, when we look at stories, originally it was to be able to tell information. That furry thing over there with 4 legs will eat you. And it's evolved all along the way. It has become a way for us to share emotions and to share history, to share fables. And so as we've seen it, the technology has also evolved along with it. The best way to reach a larger audience, to get
Dobra, ale mam
information out there, and that's
prośbę, nie wklejajcie tego gównianego linka do tego trailera, ktoś trzymał telefon do góry nogami, no tego się w ogóle nie da oglądać, więc jeśli w jakikolwiek sposób szanujecie swoje hobby i szanujecie to, swoje hobby, jakim są Gwiezdne Wojny, to w ogóle nie oglądajcie tego, nie nabijajcie temu debilowi, który to wrzucił wyświetleń, no bo to w ogóle nie ma sensu. No. Poczekamy, no trudno, no nie ma nas na Star Wars Celebration bezpośrednio, no więc nie oglądamy tych wydarzeń, więc jeśli nie widzieliśmy trailera, no to poczekamy, aż się pojawi oficjalnie.
Are they kind of still frustrating because you're not quite there yet where you want to be?
Well, actually, I mean, I think we're all a bit surprised that things have accelerated the way they have.
No tak, no i teraz pytanie, czy przerwa, znaczy czy ten Marvel wypadł całkiem, bo cały czas teraz na liście jest na stronie oficjalnej, czy ten Marvel i komiksy Marvela wypadły całkiem, czy one będą po tym ILMxLAB, więc nie wiem, czy gry Star Wars będą o 19 w takim razie naszego czasu, czy będą o 20 nadal. Tak, to jest tutaj istotne bardzo, więc... No a to na razie jakby dupy nie urywa, tutaj nic nie pokazują takiego interesującego, więc tak właśnie. Dobra, to ponieważ nic nie mówią tutaj ciekawego, to ja się na chwilę wyciszę.
The vision of a person like Walt Disney, who saw from the beginning that there was something that was very sort of internally desired by people to step inside some of these fantasies. So he wanted to take the fantasies in his animation and manifest it as a physical thing. He could
live action elements, miniature elements, maybe animatronics, animation, CG. How is all this experience bundled together to help you develop immersive entertainment?
You know, what's really helped is my experience in animation. What's really helped is my experience in animation over the last few years. You know, animation always relies on having a great story up front, but what's really important there is iteration. You need to be able just to throw things away that aren't working and, you know, roll with the punches. And in VR, what we're finding is that's even more important. We need to write things down that look good on paper. We talk them out. We all think it's going to work. You get the goggles on. It's like, nope, that's not happening. So we have to be willing to get rid of things and move on, and that's been helpful in my experience.
So I'm going to throw out some words that are often associated with VR and immersive entertainment, and I'd love to hear your takes and definitions on them because, again, I can't stress how new this field is. In some cases, there's no consensus, yet people keep using these words. So, presence, what does that mean to you?
I'll take that. So there is, for those of us that are dabbling in sandboxing in mixed reality and virtual reality, there is this word called presence. It's probably new to a lot of people here. I will try to explain this. Reality, okay, is rather sophisticated as it turns out. You know, that which you see, that which your brain is interpreting is really happening before you, that which you perceive to be real, that you believe, right? That's rather sophisticated. The human mind is able to do so much more than any computer can today. But we want to try to find our way towards a closer representation of reality in something that we can sort of display, if you will. So this idea of presence is that you've achieved a certain threshold where the content in front of you is being sort of, call it rendered or realized at such an extremely high fidelity, quality, and also as well at such an extremely high sort of, we call it, you know, high frame rate, but if you could say that a movie is 24 frames a second, you could say that reality is 1,000 frames a second, right? There's that much more information in reality. So presence is this threshold that we're trying to get to, where you're starting to actually believe this content that you're looking at. You believe that it's really there. It's almost perceptual. It's not like watching a movie where you know that that's on the screen.
It's not a screen that just happens to be 2 inches in front of you.
Exactly. There's something, you may have done some kinds of VR experiences that were simple where you had a little mobile phone, you know, and your mother said, don't put a screen close to your face, but you have a little mobile phone close to your face and you're looking at this. That's not really what we're talking about. We're talking about something that's far, far higher quality.
And what
And
else, you know, yeah, oh, sorry. Oh, Mark Miller. But also, you know, picking off of that, there's also so many other thoughts in that, as you said, that we're just still defining what this is. And for some people, you know, especially people who are just coming into VR for the first time, they're often asking that question of like, who am I? How does this work? You know, where am I in this situation? Which is kind of like going back to your point about reality is really complicated when you're trying to figure out who that person is in the story that you're telling.
Presence, it's also a challenge for us because what happens is when people get immersed in these worlds, we're trying to show them a story or lead them to things, and they can get waylaid by, you know, looking at the floor or looking at the rocks, and it really creates a big challenge for us of how to lead them and how to tell the story.
Another word, persistence. I know, John, you're particularly fascinated with this.
Okay, I'm preoccupied with this. Okay, so, all right, this is the best way I can explain it. So you are living your life, right? You're in your house, you go out, you do your stuff, go on the street corner, you see friends, see things happening. That's reality, that's real life. That goes on and on and on and on and on and on, right? It's a persistent world, persistent reality, your reality. So what the remarkable opportunity for us all is that if we could essentially create these fictitious universes like Star Wars, these fantasy-based universes, in a way where they just go on and on and on, and that we can step into those, and where story can happen all around you, but isn't necessarily a singular directed thing at you, right? Like being on the street corner, everything around you is a story. These people walking over here, talking, this event over here that occurs, those are all stories. So what we want to try to aim for is essentially making the Star Wars universe in a forever persistent sort of way that we can all step inside. Well, there's no reason to go back to your regular reality once we've finished that.
Now, you guys have all taken some of our past experiments on the road to places like Sundance and other technology festivals and things like that. What have the reactions been when you take it to different places?
I'll start with this one. We went to Sundance. We got an amazing reaction to the demos that we had there. What was interesting, comparing Sundance, I always say it was like running a theme park ride at a cocktail party. This has been more like running a theme park ride at a rave or a rock concert or Wembley Stadium or something. It's just massively huger here, but the reactions at both places are all smiles.
And there's also this sense of complete wonderment when people are beginning to realize what this platform is going to offer them for story to come into their lives and for them to come into story. And so that look on their face once they take the goggles off and they're just like, wow, this is amazing. There's nothing better than that, and that's a sight that we want to see more of.
Now, let's talk briefly about a couple of ILMxLAB experiments that actually got out into the public that you could have tried online. I don't know if anyone here has tried these, but in the lead up to The Force Awakens, we had two little bite-sized experiments which were really interesting to put together. One was Jakku Spy, which was a Google Cardboard experience, and the other was a FaceTime 360 video. Was it the first FaceTime 360 video ever done? Yeah, it was basically you could spin the video around and watch a 360 view of Rey's speeder flying over Jakku. I don't know if anyone here tried that when it first came out. So we talk about what was behind those projects and how they came together?
Well, the first one, which Pablo and I were down in the trenches on, Google Cardboard, which was exciting. So we were trying to figure out, because what's so great about XLab is that we're this wonderful combination of the story side and the tech side. And so we're trying to figure out, all right, we know what the tech is doing, what's the story that's going to really bring out that technology? And we also had the challenge of, it's got to also somehow in some way feed a little bit into the beginning of The Force Awakens. And so we would come up with these ideas to make it an 8-day experience, and then we would talk to our our wonderful people at ADG and ILMxLAB, and they would tell us, nope, that's not going to happen. And so then we go back and we say, okay, but what if we were to do this? And it was this wonderful interlocking puzzle that we were doing with all these creative minds to make a great experience and what would work well on cardboard. And I think that's what was the most important thing was, and that's what our story group is charged with, is finding the right story for the right platform that brings out the best in both areas.
And the technology challenge for that is ultimately, you know, ILM could create the most amazing visuals, but it all had to be compressed down into a final format that you could download on the Star Wars app and carry around in your phone. So you could have a million ideas of what you wanted to do, but it had to be funneled through that pesky reality filter to get it to the audience.
And that's last year's reality.
That was yeah, and it's all changed again.
So every year is a remarkable advancement. And what, you know, today you don't really have these things and these goggles and glasses in your homes, but you will find your way to these things in the next year, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I'll just sort of get you prepared, because you will see that VR will start appearing in theaters, if you will, around, right? It'll spill into your house if you want it. And then all of a sudden you'll see that mixed reality, right, which will look very different. It's not like just having a big box on your face. Mixed reality will be more stealthy, glasses-like. That stuff will start appearing and become available to you as well. It's very conceivable that in like 3 to 5 years, you have these glasses, and that the things that you're seeing are not little cartoons. They are rather sophisticated ILM quality characters, creatures, and things in your world.
Now, Mark, can you talk as a producer about assembling the talent that is required to create these experiences?
Yeah, it's been great. We've put together really a team of all-stars from the movie, from the animation, visual effects, and the game industries. And what's nice is we've been able to pull from ILM, which is, you know, the best that there is, and then bring in game engineers and designers and put them together, which has, you know, they come from different worlds and they work differently, and that's created challenges and sometimes some clashes with, but that's where a lot of the innovation has come from, and that's really what we're about, is trying to push forward in the middle there. So it's also been great to be able to utilize, you know, Doug Chang's art group and the Skywalker sound people as we go along. So we really have the best and brightest kind of everything, and then we're looking at a lot of directors from film and games. We've talked to all the directors of the current slate of Star Wars films about their ideas. So really a lot of fun conversations there have led us to an all-star group that we're continuing to grow. And then, of course, it all starts with story, and with all our initial meetings with Diana's group and the story team, including you, Pablo, at Lucasfilm, you know, we've really talked about a lot of different writing talent, and been able to start working with some of the best writing talent from the film and game world.
We can certainly attest to that. The next ILMxLAB experience, it's going to move beyond the experiment. What we're working on right now is a way to get into your hands an original Star Wars story that can only be told through virtual reality. And it's going to be exclusive and cinematic in that realm. And it is being written by one of the biggest storytelling talents in the business. You know his work from the Christopher Nolan trilogy of Batman movies, including Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises. He also co-wrote the Call of Duty Black Ops series and is executive producer on the forthcoming Birth of a Nation movie. Please welcome Mr. David Goyer. Will someone please give Mr. Goyer a microphone? Perfect. How you doing?
Good.
So you've worked on so many different projects, so many different media. We're talking movies, TV, games. What brought you to VR?
It's funny, I was just saying backstage, I've done a lot of Comic-Con things, but this is the first Star Wars related one, and I'm actually kind of nervous, so. I had been interested in VR, and because of my work in games as well as features and television, I've been approached over the last, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. There's a lot of emerging VR projects in the works. And a lot of them were interesting, but I kept sort of going, I don't know if this thing's going to fly, or I don't know if there's enough money behind this. And I kept waiting, and at the same time, I've been talking to Kiri and Kathy at Lucasfilm, just having some informal conversations. And then I heard about ILMxLAB, just like everyone else did, I don't know, about a year ago. And then I got a call from you guys, I don't know, in December saying, hey, would you be interested in this crazy, groundbreaking thing that we're doing? And I said, yes. And that's how I got involved. And then John and I met 10 years ago, ironically, on a panel at a sort of VFX expo, which was about the kind of fusion of VFX and games and storytelling. So it's kind of interesting that a decade later it's all come to fruition.
Finally.
Finally, yeah.
It's funny, we talk about this quite a bit because it's an interesting topic of conversation because it's so difficult to talk about VR and immersive entertainment in the abstract.
Totally. Trust me, my family, they're like, what are you working on? It's so new, but one of the things that's exciting about it from our perspective is I think even a year from now, you guys are going to have much more of a context of one of the things that's neat about what we're working on is we don't even really have a name for the genre of storytelling yet that we've been working on for a while now. But if you've experienced the Trials of Tatooine, as I did maybe 6 months ago, I mean, I was really blown away by that. But based on what we've been working on for the last half year or so, I mean, that's like here, and what we're working on is like up here, and you guys, I mean, I'm just losing it as we're working on it.
We're all kind of losing it.
Yeah.
Deep inside, soon to be outside.
Yeah, it's so I'm really, really excited for, I don't know, a year, 2, whenever it happens, and you guys get to experience what we're working on. It's pretty mind-blowing.
So as a writer, what does it allow you to do? Like what does VR let you do that you can't do on the page? So,
and again, this has been an experience that I've had. So we're doing these builds, we're doing these sort of, you know, proof of concepts, and what's the difference between cinema and television and VR is, especially with the fidelity that this team is working on, is you really feel like you're there. And the sense of presence, it's not just a buzzword. When you guys get to experience it, you will feel like you're there. And it's very, surprisingly, very emotional. And it can make you sad, and it can make you lean in and feel for a character in a way that you hadn't before, in a way that you really can't do in any other medium, in books, in film, and it can scare you, trust me, in a way that you've never been scared before.
It's experiential storytelling.
It's experiential.
It's a whole new area.
Yeah, so there's the plot, but you come out of it, it's surprising how much you feel and how emotional it is. And you know, even as we're experimenting with it, there's stuff that makes you tear up and makes you cry, and that's really phenomenal.
So what I find interesting about this is that you know, you're experiencing it, but are you a viewer? Is that a word?
So we've been also, everything is so new. We've been talking about that. Are you a viewer? And I quickly said no. And
right. And then there's also user.
User, because I've worked
another word you'll hear.
I've worked in games and in first-person shooters, and no. So
you're not a player.
So you're not a player because it's not a game.
Right. I gotta admit, I cringed when I was talking to Rob, and I asked him if he watched people play Trials on Tatooine. The second that word came out of my mouth, I was like, that's not the word I'm looking for.
And this thing that we're working on, you don't play it. Right. So
you be it.
You be it. You're in it. You're
Yeah,
part
which is
of the story.
terrible English,
You're
but
part
yes,
of the
you be
story.
it.
So I don't know. The word I came up with that I'm pushing is visitor. You are the visitor in this story that's happening in and around you that to a certain extent you may even have some effect on.
And very different than some of the last, lo-fi things that are around. You walk into it, you touch it.
Yeah, you can pick up things, you can open things, you can push things, you can walk, you can touch characters. And that's, just imagine sort of being in a movie, but then being able to do that within the context of the movie. And you were saying the world is persistent. It's not just that, it will live on after the first time you enter it. It's that to a certain extent the environment changes.
It's always living.
Day comes and then night comes and it may rain and all sorts of things may happen and different creatures may appear and not appear, and that will keep going forever potentially. Mm-hmm.
So what's it like to now write in the Star Wars universe for you?
That's that first day that was funny. Even writing it, we had to come up with what the format, because it's not really a script. We were like, how do you even write this? And we spent
Excel.
We spent it's like a spreadsheet. We spent a couple weeks just even figuring out how to do that. But the first time I put, not pen to paper, but I worked on my computer, I took a screenshot of it, because it was the first time I'd written something in the Star Wars universe. And as a inner geek who was actually stood in line opening day for Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back, that was a big deal for me.
And just for people who are wondering, because this is coming under the auspices of the Lucasfilm Story Group, we're all working together. Kiri Hart is working on this. Kathleen Kennedy's giving us her blessing. This really is a story that exists within the Star Wars universe.
This exists within the Star Wars universe. It involves characters that or some that may have been talked about but you haven't seen before, and it will be adding to the existing canon.
So who is it about?
So, all right. First it was very blue sky, and this originated from something that John and Kiri were talking about a couple of years ago, but we talked about, we've got this incredible new storytelling platform that allows you to feel and in a way that you've never felt before, and possibly feel for someone in a way that you've never felt for them before, and it allows you to feel like you're really in a real place. So we thought about, okay, we've got the entire Star Wars universe at our disposal. What planet do we want to be on? What location? What character is so iconic that we want to know more about?
We need to know
more about this character.
We can't sleep at night.
And we want to experience these things in a way that can't be experienced in film and can't be experienced in a novel and can only be experienced in VR. So we came up with this person.
All right, if we could please roll the last video.
Co nam tu pokażą? Jeszcze jakąś grę, jakieś doznanie 3D. Way to many abilities,
some consider to be unnatural.
Też ma jakiś niestabilny miecz świetlny. Nie wiem, czy to kwestia kodowania, ale wygląda bardziej jak miecz Kylo Rena. No i co? I to tyle?
Yeah!
There we go. So, you just saw that. Very impressive on a flat screen. Imagine living that, standing in there, having that character right in front of you. That's the future. You're getting the first look at it. And I want to thank all my panelists for coming here. David Goyer, John Gata, Diana
To
Williams,
jest takie
Mark
strasznie
Miller.
naciągane, szczerze
Thank you all
mówiąc.
for
Ja
coming to
nie
our
wierzę w
panel.
ogóle
If you haven't done it yet, go to Trials on Tatooine, give it a shot. Even if you have done it, do it again before you download it on Monday. Thank you so much.
Nie wierzę w ogóle nie wierzę w ogóle w to całe, w ten cały szał związany z 3D.